so it's classified as a mobile assault vehicle. What, does it attack phones?
It's truly astounding how many different ways you find to waste our time.
Cyclones, described by some as an annoying spawn of darkness that should not exist, can be more accurately called a hit-and-run force. They can be built from any factory that has a tech lab attached, and their base stats include a health pool of 120, armor of 1, attack range of 5, and 18 damage every 0.71 seconds. You might think that that sounds good, and you're probably right, but their true strength comes from their ability, Lock On. This ability has a cast range of 7 and causes the Cyclone to focus fire at the target. The Lock On will deal 400 damage over 14 seconds, so long as the Cyclone stays within 15 range of the target and vision is maintained. In practice, you lock onto a target and then you can move the Cyclones around to stay alive. Use a scan from an orbital to keep vision, etc. After the 14 seconds, or if the tether is broken, there is a 4.3 second cooldown before the Cyclone can lock on again. It should be noted that multiple Cyclones can lock on to the same target in case you really want to illustrate the definition of overkill. Lastly, there is an upgrade available at the factory's tech lab called Magfield Accelerator. Once researched, Cyclones get some rad-looking red laser lights, which are visible to all players. Your opponent will know that you researched that. The Magfield Accelerator gives the lock-on ability an additional 400 damage versus armored targets. So to rephrase, the ability would then deal 800 damage to armored or 400 to everything else. Now let's talk about usage. Cyclones are typically only valued for their lock-on ability, as it can deal tremendous damage very quickly. They can perform well outside of lock-on, but with a bit of micro, the lock-on ability can ruin someone's day. I commonly see Cyclones used in two settings. The first is as an early defensive tool. Since their only tech requirement is the factory, they are an excellent source of speedy anti-armor and anti-air. Perfect for dealing with something like a Banshee or a battlecruiser opener, or the dreaded Void Ray shield battery all in. Although they can be good against an early Roach all-in, I think that most Terrans would agree with me in the statement that the Banshee fills that role best. The other major use for Cyclones is offensively in a battle mech composition. This comp is usually made up of Cyclones and Hellions, and it results in a much more mobile and aggressive force than the traditional siege tank mech build. Whether you use them for good or evil intentions, the best advice I have is to let the lock-on ability do its job. Babysit the Cyclones, kiting units back and forth, trying to deal as much damage as possible from far away.
Let's go.
Generally speaking, Cyclones excel when they can fight on their own terms. They can deal impressive physical damage to enemies and cause your opponent to rage uncontrollably. Emotional damage. That said, the Cyclones are not without their weaknesses. Their health is relatively low, and they have a mediocre attack range. Plus, they can only hit one target at a time. The central theme for any counters is this: get something that can either outrun them or outrange them. With that in mind, let's talk about some faction-specific tools. I rarely see Cyclones in high numbers in TVT. More often, they're the tool that shuts down the Reaper Hellion shenanigans in the early game, but not much past that. Unfortunately for the Cyclone, siege tanks kind of just wreck them. So long as you're keeping your tanks in siege mode, the tanks can outrange and out-DPS the Cyclones 8 days of the week. If you need another tool though, Stim Bio is probably your best bet for chasing the Cyclones down. Just be sure to get concussive shells if you're adding in Marauders. That slow will really help them out. Protoss players, I have heard that Blinkstalkers can handle Cyclones reasonably well. I'm sure they do, but honestly, I'm not parting, and no amount of caffeine will help me micro like him. So instead, I recommend going for Charge Zealots and Thermal Lance Colossi. With the respective research upgrades, the Zealots can somewhat chase the Cyclones away, and the Colossi shut them down like the siege tanks do for Terran. With Thermal Lance, the Colossi can hit the Cyclones before lock-on range is even possible. As a bonus counter though, if you're confident in your micro, the Phoenix can actually be a great tool against Cyclones. This is because the Graviton Beam ability, when used on a Cyclone, will break the lock-on tether. Simply wait for the lock-ons to go out, then lift the Cyclones up to make them feel utterly humiliated. Zerg lovers, the ultimate awesome counter to work towards is Lurkers with the Hive Tech upgrades. If you just exclaimed, Hive Tech, really? The Cyclones are killing me at the 5-minute mark. Yeah, I agree with you. It is a bit rough. In the meantime, a group of speedlings can easily outpace and surround the Cyclones.
Show me who you wanted.
But Indigos, the Terran players making Hellions too. Yeah, they do pair well together. Up against the Hell Clone composition, pure speedling is generally not enough. Lingbane might work well. Personally, I like to add in Roach and primarily Ravagers to help the speedlings. The Ravagers' attack range of 6 will let you box with the Cyclones, and Corrosive Biles are super helpful. Whether the Biles land or the Terran micros away and breaks the lock-on, you win. Like their namesake, Cyclones are a turbulent, fast-moving force of destruction. Whether you use this guide to destroy or defend your Starcraft trailer park from the dreaded Cyclone, I do hope it was helpful. Thank you for watching.